All right, here we go. We have Borelson right here on the lens of Yashu. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Everything's blessed, no complaints.
I see you got a nice shirt right there to promote, the album and all that. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of days ago, I had, I guess, someone who supports my music who left a comment on Facebook, and then I just felt that the comment was really, heartfelt and beautiful, as a compliment about saying that my album is a masterpiece. So I decided to literally right away go and print that and put that on some merch. So that's what I did. So shout out to Joe for that comment, and then yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, man. Nah, likewise. Thank you for coming by, and great work by the way too. I've known you like for a while back too from the Drake shows, and just checking out all these other events too, and then just getting into your music. You had, as far as I can see, you had your debut mixtape back then when you were like in France and all that, and then recently Building Bridges. You just released that with like Fearless, which also includes a remix, the Blackest track with Chantel Rose, and everything else too. Even the Outsider's Victory, even though I don't know if it was still on the project, but that was also a dope track too.
Absolutely, thank you very much, man. We just keep it pushing and always try to innovate and elevate. So yeah.
Yeah, man. I just want to get it started right here too, since this is your first TLOI interview. So you were born in Gabon, that's correct?
Yes, exactly. I spent my formative years in Gabon, and then Congo and France, and then after that, moved to Canada.
Yeah, exactly. So being, so you have Gabon roots and then Congolese roots.
Yes.
So what was the environment like for you growing up in Gabon and in Congo as well too, as well as your childhood? Would you say it was very good growing up, or would you say it was kind of different?
I mean, I was a little bit of mix of everything. I would say that culturally the good thing is that naturally having already two nationalities, Gabonese and Congolese, so naturally I'm already by default a Pan-African in the sense that I got two African cultures growing up, and then just being in Africa, it's places where we actually, I would say, consume a lot of things coming from outside, so then growing up in terms of cultural influences, it was a mix of already the Gabonese and the Congolese one, but also, culture coming from many other places from the continent or even from outside the African continent, right? So it was a very, I would say, diverse and multicultural environment I grew up in. And then from there, you just pick and choose naturally some stuff that resonates with you the most in terms of influence, and then you just decide to go there to follow these influences, right? So yeah.
No doubt. And I was actually reading about the history of Gabon while I was in the TDC before the interview, and it actually had an independence sometime in around the 1960s, but before that it was you had French colonizers, and then you had Portuguese settlers who founded first. So with the whole Gabon independence thing, did it have an effect on your family or anyone else growing up?
I don't know really about that, so my dad, my parents were definitely, alive and young during those independence days, but I guess, it was back then a synonym of potentially more opportunities and more freedom, if I can say it like that, right? So, and Congo actually also got its independence in 1960. It's actually a lot of African countries, and then you would see the influence of then foreign powers. So Gabon, it was French and Portuguese before that, and in Congo it was actually a mix of Belgium, a little bit of France, but mostly Belgium and the United States. So a side note or backstory is that there was the rumble in the jungle in 1974 in Congo. So that was the one of the greatest boxing events of the whole 20th century. That's what people say, right? And because it was Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, and my mom back then, she was actually still in Congo and working for the U.S. Embassy back then. So she was actually among the people that got a chance to meet Muhammad Ali. And I would say during those years, right, so after the independence, you will see actually, yeah, a lot of influence, from like the American culture in Congo. It's like even in terms of currency, you could actually use US dollars. To this day, you can actually use US dollars in Congo sometimes when you want to pay stuff. So, and then yeah, that influence, I guess that was part of also, my influences growing up, in terms of culture, in terms of sound. So, yeah, man, that's what I can share about that.
No, likewise. An interesting history, by the way, too. And African culture. It's like one of the most popular things like throughout the world. Like especially like now with Nollywood, with Afrobeats music. With
Yeah.
music coming from like other regions like South Africa,
Absolutely.
Ghana, and even for you like Congo
Yeah.
and Gabon. Like, so do you
Yeah.
feel like the culture and the media presence back there was much more prevalent in reaching worldwide back then, as opposed to like what it is like right now?
I mean, I would say, culture, there's culture shift happening on a regular basis, and it's interesting to see where, for instance, during again the 60s, after the independence days and 60s and even 70s, right? So Congo was actually literally the country that was having a huge influence across the continent. So when it comes to like especially music, it was really those Congolese musicians that really were influencing a lot of movements in Africa. Like now, today you would see more, like you said, like Afrobeat and things like that. But back then, it's definitely Congolese music that was the sound of Africa. So, and all of that, yeah, again, growing up there, I was definitely in an environment where I was feeling and witnessing, the power that the Congolese culture had across the continent. And then also seeing other cultures and all the sounds growing and taking more power and becoming more important. And to me, at the end of the day, I see myself as a Pan-African. So to me, I just embrace anything that I feel is black as a whole, and always try to really be a bridge between all those cultures and sound, and even I would say places and people. So yeah, that definitely influenced everything that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know what you mean, man. And you talked about like in previous interviews that you moved to like France,
Yeah.
to pursue your music career, and then it worked well, like the 2016 mixtape, and then I think years later you moved here, and you moved to Parkdale. So out of all the areas like in Toronto, what made you decide on like how Parkdale was home for you, and what were like some qualities or factors that made you decide that it was like, a great place to live?
Sure. So when I moved to Toronto and decided to move to Parkdale, originally because I knew that I was moving to Canada overall to really push my creativity to the next level. I just wanted to be like, okay, I'm gonna be, and the way I was seeing that is like I will be living in North America overall, because I was like, the good thing is that instead of being in France, Europe, is like I'm now so closer to the United States, right? Where also usually when you make what people call urban music, right, then it's most of the time over there that is really hot. So then to me, being based in Toronto, that was the whole vision. Like, okay, let me take my creativity furthest and travel back and forth to the States, for which I've been doing ever since I've been here, and even before that. And then when I was observing Toronto in terms of creativity and all of that, actually, originally I was thinking about Scarborough, but then I also knew that when it comes to like work that I would have to do, most of the time it would have been downtown. So then I was checking that, okay, downtown to Scarborough, Scarborough to downtown, then quite, a distance. So that's why I was like, okay, let me be closer to downtown. And looking at different neighborhoods, then Parkdale was the one that I picked because, it's known to be also a neighborhood where you had a lot of creative and a lot of creativity, art galleries and things like that. So, and it's a neighborhood that is also multicultural. So to me, yeah, that was those reasons. And it was also interesting to see that the Weeknd, who was born and raised in Scarborough, then after that, when he decided, to leave his parents' house, moved to Parkdale, right? So to me, that was also an interesting story because the Weeknd is an artist that I really appreciate, and I really have a lot of respect for his journey and everything that he's been able to accomplish. So I guess that was also one of the reasons I was like, yeah. And I went to check the House of Balloons. It actually is located in Parkdale. I even made sure that I include that in the Outsiders Victory video, right? So that was some of the reason why I decided to come to Parkdale, and no regret so far. You know, it's a beautiful neighborhood. Again, you can feel a creative energy, a creative force here. Multicultural, not too far from the downtown core, and yeah, just a lovely neighborhood, man. I love it here.
Parkdale's like a very nice area too, and I know like some people like a certain neighborhood like means something to you, like in a sense. So
Yeah.
in that sense, what does Parkdale like mean to you, like in your own terms and in your own vision?
Sorry, said that again?
Like what does like Parkdale like mean to you, or like the vision that it has for you? Like do you have like a general meaning of like what Parkdale means to you, like in terms of like your music and with culture?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I think about Parkdale, I think about home. You know, I really have that feeling of like I feel home. You know, I feel welcome. I feel that I can just be me as an individual. So yeah, that's what Parkdale means to me. And but again, I try not to also limit myself, because the funny thing is that when it comes to creativity, like my main sound engineer, or just the places where I record the most, they are still in Scarborough. You know, I have a community there, I have my people there, and the two places I spend time the most is actually Parkdale and Scarborough. So to me, at the end of the day, it's just being able to express myself and to achieve my goals and manifest my vision. So yeah, Parkdale, home. That's what I can say. Yeah.
I know recently like Parkdale had like some situations just, you know, recently like with this year, and I think some years back with the whole like anti-black racism in like some of the schools. So like in Queen Victoria, there was like an issue with the teachers, the black teachers at the school, like with
Yeah.
like the racist message. And then recently in Parkdale Collegiate, like there was a teacher in blackface as well. So
Yeah.
with the people, like the community, like taking a stand against like the anti like black racism like happening like in those schools, do you feel like they took a great stand in taking charge in handling the situation? And like what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I was actually observing that a little bit from afar, you know. But actually, more recently, that teacher actually got fired, literally like yesterday. And then they're also gonna put in place some training, you know, to help, I guess, people, you know, to just educate people about things that probably technically should be common sense, but that some people maybe might ignore. So yeah, you know, definitely is not something good, you know, to do some black faces. So that was very, very inappropriate. And I hope that, yeah, we will never see this type of thing, whether it's in Parkdale or anywhere in the world, right? So to me, it was actually even surprising to see that it was happening in Parkdale. And then seeing, yeah, those movements about anti-black racism. So I feel like, yeah, it's really sad to see that, you know, and I really hope that people will learn from that incident, and that we will never witness this type of incident ever again and again, not just in Parkdale, but anywhere. Because in 2021, and honestly, sometimes I'm just surprised and not surprised at the same time that this type of things still happen, you know.
I know what you mean, man. But moving on to like a brighter side in the sense too, like you talked about like how you got like into music in that sense too, and from the influences. But what made you decide on wanting to be like a multidisciplinary like artist slash musician?
Actually, to me, it wasn't even like a matter of like, oh, I want to, or like it's a choice and etc. To me, it was just naturally embracing things where you feel like that really just resonate with you the most. To me, honestly, that was just that. Anytime that I want to do something, I really stand for freedom, and to me, it's just like anytime I want to do something, if that thing really resonate with me, and I feel like it makes sense, then I'm like, yeah, why not? So that's why I'm mostly a musician, but then I play music, I compose music, I do some scoring sometimes on some projects. I direct or co-direct music videos. I'm working on a documentary at the moment. I directed a docu-series a couple of years ago. I did some acting too sometimes. So to me, honestly, it's really just embracing my skills and my talents, and as long as again there's some like alignment and that it makes sense to me, then I'm like, why not? I feel like every human being, we have a lot of skills and a lot of capacities, and it's just about actually embracing those. So to me, I just try not to limit myself and to just do whatever I want to do.
No doubt, man. And with the artists and like genres you were influenced by, like which ones would you say like you were influenced like the most to, and like who is like someone that you would like to collaborate with like musically in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of influence, there's definitely plenty, right? When you listen to my music, you will see that there's a lot of mixes and genres and things like that coming together. So to me, it's pretty wide. Influences, honestly, that can go for like one of the top, if not the top, Gabonese artists, and his name is Pierre Claver Akendenge. I would say he's a sort of like Stevie Wonder of Gabon. That's the way I like to see him, because he's like a multi-instrumentalist and he's been in the game for quite a while. So him, and then I can say Tupac also is a major influence. Nas, who else? Yeah, Rakim, and more recently I can say Kendrick Lamar, or even Andre 3000. So, and in terms of people, that I would love to collaborate, definitely those people that I've mentioned, and those people that I've mentioned, and I would say especially right now, someone like Kendrick Lamar or Andre 3000, that would be dope. And and even though these are some people that are not alive anymore, but also I really love classical music.
Dope, man. Yeah. And usually like with artists, like I always ask like if they have like a creative process like when making music, or like if a day in recording music would be like for them. So like in your perspective, what is your creative process like when like writing a song or when like making music, and what would like a day in like recording music be like for you?
Yeah, I mean, usually start with an idea, right? So most of the time you start with an idea, and then and that idea might actually come from literally anything, and then you try to find the music that can actually match the best, that idea, that energy. Or sometimes that can be the opposite, where like maybe because I already have some music that either people send me or some music that I'm working on, then from that music I might think about an idea about what I could write. And then from there, it's about spending my time alone with the music. That's what I do most of the time, is really like taking time to write and to really like understand the music and the sounds and see if there's some additional layers that need to be added and things like that. So, and that time most of the time is more like alone time. And then after that, just hitting the studio with sound engineer, producer, and then now seeing how you could record. But most of the time when I go to the studio, I already have a very specific idea of where I want to go, how I want to sound. But I also remain, open to see if I can try new things. If, for instance, the sound engineer or the producer in the room want to suggest something else, right? So usually that will be the process, and then you take the time to listen to that first version, and then you see if now you just want to finish the mix, or you want to make some little changes in what you did record, so that after that, now when you feel very satisfied, then you just finish the mix and do the mastering. So usually that's the process.
No doubt, like that's actually like a very good way as well too. And then just highlighting your recent project, Building Bridges, a lot of dope tracks with Mula, with Black is, and then also Fearless, which also included the Ghana remix.
Yeah.
Tell me more about it, man, and what was like the inspiration and like creative like process like for it.
Sure. So I think building bridges. I think last year, 2020, I released my debut album, as far as I can see. But I think I already knew that this year, 2021, I wanted to release a new project. So, and I think the idea for building bridges, the name actually came from when I was coming back from Ghana, because I was there for the year of return in 2019. I got a chance to perform there at a festival and also network with many people. And coming back to Toronto, I had a layover in Lisbon, in Portugal. And I was just, taking the time to walk into the city, to observe the city, just chilling there, right? And there was many bridges, and one of them was pretty huge. I think it's called the Vasco da Gama Bridge, and I don't know, I just felt something special. So it was the beginning of 2020. So the album, as far as I can see, was not even out yet, but I already knew that idea of like building bridges, I needed to do something about it, right? So, and that was actually, I think, the vibe on Ubuntu. That was part of, as far as I can see, where, I had different guest features, and also the producer is Black African American in the States. So, but then, I just knew that the next project will be really about, again, building those bridges between cultures, sounds, genres, continents, given my international journey, right? And then I think, that's how it started. And then from there was some music that I started composing myself, or some other music that some producer would just send me, and I would listen. I was like, I think that one could be part of the project. And like I said previously, like you start, writing ideas about from that music. So I think to me, we're just identifying some people that I feel will make sense in that project, and then you reach out to them, or sometimes it's really like random, link up, and then you're like, I feel like that makes sense, and let's just make it happen. As long as everybody vibes with the whole idea. So, and then slowly but surely, you work on tracks after tracks after tracks, and then you pick what you feel are the best ones, and then you release the project. So it's been out since late October, and for the Ghana remix, I would say of Fearless, then it's one of the artists, Kojo Q. I met him when I was in Ghana on a set of a music video of a Toronto artist, actually Kibra, and then we linked up at that moment, and then I was like, maybe one of these days I might come through with some ideas, and then if you vibe with it, then let's do a song together, right? So that's how it happened. And then the other one, Volasi, it's also an artist that I've been put on through another artist, and I was like, I like what he's doing, and that would make sense to have him, because again, Ghana has been a whole vibe being there for the year of return, and it's a country that I really, really appreciate, and historically it's a very interesting country about their whole history and journey, and also what they're doing for the whole Black nation across the globe, right? So that's why to me I was like, having a Ghana remix definitely would make sense. But that's the whole project. There's different vibes, different type of sounds. There's some even gospel, the outro of the album, and some more like Afrobeat, Afrofusion. There's really like some real hip hop, like rapidy rap. So there's literally, I would say, a little bit of this and that. So that means that most people, I guess, will at least vibe with one track of the album, if not most of the track. Like that person right here, who felt like the whole album is a masterpiece, right? So to me, it's really just creating for a pure place and then letting people enjoy it. But me on my end, I did what I had to do. I'm happy with the result, and that's what I put it out. So now it's about people enjoying it.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, I definitely agree as well. Just like how the style is and how the composition is too. And then when we even talk about music nowadays too, like I was reading this tweet from JoJo, like if you know her, like she was well known in the early 2000s, now is still popular now.
Yeah.
So she made this tweet on Twitter more about if you for labels and artists and A&Rs on, do you think find a way to make your music go viral on TikTok is like a fair, creative, effective like marketing strategy proposal for artists to use. So like in your opinion, in your viewpoint, do you feel like finding a way to make your music go viral on TikTok is similar, like a fair, creative, effective like marketing strategy like proposal for like, you know, artists to use, or does it diminish like an artist's like artistry like in terms of their sound and their brand?
Yeah, I mean, you know, as artists, at the end of the day, what you want at some point, you know, I mean, depending of exactly what you want, but I guess every artist you want to know to be known, you know, at a certain level, right? So to me, I just feel like it's about observing what are the tools available around you so that you can reach out to, you know, more people. And then based on all these tools available around you, then just see, you know, what tools, you know, resonate with you and what game you want to play or what games you don't want to play. And also if you play some games, is it also playing with your own rules, you know? So to me, TikTok or any other platform, that can be part of the strategy of any artist, you know, as long as, again, you're doing it because you feel like you're still being you and not just doing it because it's trending, you know? Because what if tomorrow TikTok is not here anymore, right? So to me, it's really, no matter the tools around, just be you, you know? Be authentic, be true to yourself. And yeah, use any tool, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you know, all of that, you know, at some point they had to exist, you know, they have never been there back in the days, for instance, right? But I think just over time, many tools appear, and then, you know, you just choose which one resonates. So that could be TikTok part of an artist strategy to gain more fame and more popularity. There's nothing wrong into that. To me, it's just, again, make sure that you remain true to yourself and authentic.
All right, man. So how do you feel about the Toronto Canadian music scene at the moment? Do you feel like there should be some changes on the direction of how the scene should go to, or do you feel like it's fine the way it is?
Yeah, you know, I feel like the Toronto music scene is actually in a great place right now. But there's definitely some progress that needs to be made for sure, because nothing is perfect, right? So I want to say that back in 2018 during Manifesto Festival, I remember some panelists coined the term Toronto Renaissance. And they were like, Toronto is a worldwide hub. And why? Because when you think about Canada, you think about immigration. Toronto is the most, you know, multicultural city in the world, or at least one of the most, if not the most, you know. So which means that from this multicultural environment, then you will see some positive changes, because now all of those cultures come together and create something unique. So to me, that's what I feel like Toronto is in a great place right now, including the music scene. And then what I think in terms of like moving forward, to me, I would say it's more about making sure that on the business side, we also see that, you know, multicultural representation in terms of like, you know, decision makers, you know, in terms of like people who are music executives, you know, people that own, you know, infrastructures. So I think to me, it's about that, making sure that there's real representation, real diversity at all levels, not just like creator, creative, but also, again, some institution that are part of the whole ecosystem. That's one. But two, for artists themselves, I like what I'm seeing, honestly. I see a lot of, you know, artists coming together, some collectives, some collaborations. You will see that in my album too. So I just, yeah, I like that, you know, and I just honestly try to stay focused on the positive.
Right, man. You know, before we go on with our last question, you know, I actually wanted to find out, so you went by B4 before, like in the past too, as like your starting rap name. But like with Borelson, is it like sort of like how did, like, is that like a stage name that is actually like your real name, or would you say that it's a creative name that you made like while like transitioning from B4 to Borelson?
Yeah, no, actually Borelson and B4 came at the same time. So Borelson is my artist name, but B4 too, because before it actually stands for Borelson, so the B is for Borelson, and the 4 is just because it's my lucky number. So to me, it's always been when I start having my name Borelson, and then I created my Facebook page in 2012. I was just like, yeah, because I had my personal Facebook that we go by Borelson. Then when I created my Facebook page to make a difference, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna call that Borelson, aka before. That's why it's written here, right? And then I was also like, maybe before I would use that when sometime, I don't know. I remember when I was, for instance, co-directing videos or doing other things that just being like the rapper, then I would use before. When, for instance, I was also composing some music and things like that. So it's all the same person, and yeah. So it's not that I used to go by before and then Borelson or vice versa. Always been actually the same. But these days it's true that I use less and less. Before it's just Borelson.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And you know, do you have like any other like plans for like the end of the year, or like, you know, starting from next year in terms of any other music going on, any other creative projects or so forth? And do you have anything else you'd like to say, or like any final words you would like to say for any person or any creative?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, so right now, for the end of the year, I think I might have at least one show that I might be part of, but I cannot talk about it for now because we're still finalizing some details. So this December, yeah. But for my album, what's gonna happen for sure is that I will be releasing some new content, so that's what people can definitely expect. Some new content, some new singles of the album. Actually, I'm gonna have a new single of the album dropping before the end of the year for sure. And then yeah, you know, just keeping promoting the album, because again, I feel like I want people to really take the time to listen to the album, to really understand it, the messages and all of that. So that's why with my team, we definitely just gonna keep pushing the album content, singles and things like that, right? Some shows are in the process too, but for now it's too early to talk about it. But hopefully we can also have some more shows. We just did one last week with The Hustle, which was a great experience, great feedback. So yeah. And what else? Yeah, and I'm also working on a documentary that I'm directing, and I hope to release that sometime in 2022. We're doing the post-production right now. So yeah. So quite busy at the moment. The plate is quite full, and I'm grateful for that. So yeah. And you're talking about message to creative, I would say, you know, just, you know, take the time to know yourself, and be patient while you hustle, you know, because when you're hustling or when you're grinding, you won't see necessarily the fruits, you know, overnight. So just make sure that you stay patient and that you take the time to really know yourself and why you are doing what you're trying to do.
Borelson, man, thank you for coming by, you know, to taking us to your area, you know, like,
yeah,
we were at Albert Fullerton Park, which a very nice place, you know, for kids to play, and, you know, just seeing the scenery with the location changes and all that. And
yeah, I mean, thank you for coming through, you know, for doing what you're doing too. I like, you know, the whole concept of the lens of Yashu, and the fact that you've been, you know, really championing all these local artists. So, you know, shout out to you too, and all the best, you know, for all your activities and endeavors. It's really dope.
Thank you for even like speaking like your facts to like, you know, just from your humble beginnings to your thoughts on certain things to the music. And, you know, everyone has to stream Building the Bridges right now, like on all platforms, you know?
Absolutely, man. And listen to that comment. So just go stream the album, buy the album, and yeah, you won't be disappointed for sure.
Yeah, man. I wish you like nothing but the best, and, you know, until next time, man.
Yeah, peace out.